In this video, we're going to add the ability to conditionally hide Google Adsense on a per post basis in WordPress. We're going to be using two well-known and well-maintained plugins for this. Plugin number one is ACF, which is otherwise known as Advanced Custom Fields, and plugin number two is WP Code Snippets plugin, previously known as Insert Headers and Footers. While both plugins do have the option to extend functionality and get additional support via premium subscriptions, the functionality we want to add in this video can be done with the free versions. One of the tools I'm using today that I'd like to give a shout out to is wpsandbox.net, which lets WordPress users and professionals try plugins and themes quickly and easily on temporary WordPress environments. I used it to create a completely new WordPress test environment, knowing that it would last for around 7 hours and had a limited storage space, but it was the perfect solution for this video. So plugin number one, ACF. What is it? Well, ACF allows WordPress owners to extend core functionality in almost every way. It's like WordPress custom fields on steroids, but better. Some of my videos that use ACF will need custom code, but I'll walk you through everything and give you links to code snippets where suitable. No matter your coding ability, you will be able to follow along, complete this video, and get the functionality we want to achieve. WP Code. What is it and what does it do? Well, WP Code is a WordPress plugin that basically makes it easy for you to add code snippets to your website without needing to modify theme code. It also gives you the ability to implement conditions to certain snippets. For example, you could add a snippet to include Google Analytics, but then make sure it isn't loaded when the current WordPress user is logged in. Now, this is useful to prevent skewing stats recorded in Google Analytics. It means that you can navigate around your site on the front end, and Google Analytics won't be tracking every page that you go to. There's plenty of other really useful ways to use this plugin, but it goes way beyond the scope of this video. Using both ACF and WP Code, we're going to add some functionality. First, we'll use WP Code to insert our Google Adsense snippet to be displayed site-wide. We'll then also ensure that Google Adsense is not loaded for logged-in users, which prevents any potential for accidental clicks while navigating through your own site or other similar reasons. We'll then move over to ACF and we'll create a new field to hide display ads on a per-page basis. And then when you are in the editor, the Gutenberg editor, for every post or page, it will then have a new field, which is effectively an on-off switch, which allows you to manually disable or enable display ads once you save the changes. So our first step is to add our Google AdSense snippet that we've taken from Google AdSense itself. We do that by navigating to code snippets, and we want to add a new snippet. And what you'll see once you get to this page here is a bunch of panels that have some predefined useful scripts that you can use on your site. Going into detail as to what they contain is way beyond the scope of this video, but needless to say, there are some useful code snippets in there if you care to take a look through. For our use case in this video, we want to use this Add Your Custom Code panel, and we're going to click this Use Snippet button. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to give it a name, and let's name it something sensible like Google AdSense. And what we're going to do is we're going to paste in our snippet. I've redacted my publisher ID from this particular snippet. We're just using it I'm using it in this video as just testing purposes, so we can search for it in the source code to make sure that it's working. So just make sure that when you post yours in, that it appears correctly, and just verify that it works correctly once we've gone past this stage. We do want to make sure it's a HTML snippet. You'll see that you've got various different options. Just make sure it's the HTML snippet you've got selected. And the next step we want to do is we make sure that this is changed to blue. Now, while the status here says inactive and it doesn't get updated as you toggle this switch, which is a bit weird, just make sure that it's blue, because blue is going to signify that it is active or it is enabled. So make sure it's blue, and we shall save that snippet and we'll check it on the front end. So save the snippet. So you can see that the snippet has been created and saved. And then when we go to the front end of the site, if we refresh the page and we will view the source code, we should be able to see that our snippet has been added here. There you go, your AdSense ID. Perfect. So now we have the AdSense snippet displaying in our source code. The next thing we want to do is, I don't want it displaying on the front end when I'm logged in. Like, as an editor, I don't want to accidentally navigate through my site and accidentally, in air quotes, accidentally click any of the adverts, and for that to impact anything to do with the fact that I could potentially get booted off my display ad network. So what we'll do is we shall come back to our code snippets, and if we go back to basically the index where all of our code snippets have been implemented, we can see that our one that we labeled Google AdSense, we can see that it's enabled in the status column, and that's obviously my fantastic username. If we go back into and edit that Google AdSense snippet, you can see it's all loaded. Everything that we've done up until this point gets loaded in the site-wide header. Perfect, everything that we want. The next thing we want to do, like I say, is we want to make sure that it isn't loaded for users that are logged in. So any content editors, if you've got a content editing team. So we want to enable logic, and in our case we want to end up hiding this particular snippet, and the condition that we want that to be hidden, so if we add new group, so the condition of hiding it is when the logged in user is true, and that's exactly what we want. We want to hide this snippet when the logged in user is true. Obviously you can change it to false, so if only you wanted to see the adverts, you could do that. So any visitor that comes to the website but isn't logged in, like, they wouldn't see the ads, which would be a bit weird. But you do you. So once we've done that bit there, we can update the change. And what we should see there is when we refresh the source code, this snippet here. So if we look for page ad 2, so obviously if we look for page ad 2 at the moment, we're gonna see what we expect. But if we refresh this page, let's refresh, and you can see it's gone. So if we do a search for page ad 2, it doesn't display. So to confirm that that's definitely working, what we can do is we can open that in an incognito window. So let's load that up now. We'll load that. We'll then look at the source code, page ad 2, and we can see that it is still loading. So we've now confirmed that the snippet does load when a user is not logged in. Perfect. So the next thing I want to do is create the advanced custom fields group to turn on and off Google AdSense on a per post or per page basis. But before we do that, I want to come into our code snippet. I want to scroll down to the Smart Conditional Logic panel, and temporarily we're going to disable the logic to hide it from logged in users. This is just going to simplify this next step. We'll turn it back on later, but for now we're going to keep it turned off. So we've turned that off. It saves changes, so we're not going to lose what we've done, and we'll update the change. Perfect. So now we're going to go into advanced custom fields, and we're going to add a new field group. And this ends up creating a field group that will be displayed on a per post and per page basis. So you can see that this field here is pre-selected. It's currently got the focus, so we're gonna fill in the title of this group to start with, and I'm going to call it post options because quite regularly I end up creating additional configuration items that I do use on a per post and per page basis, and it just makes sense to name things logically. And you can see here that we've got our fields section, an add field button that will add an unlimited amount of fields that we can be using for any configuration that we want. But in our case, we just need one at the moment. And the field type we want, you can see that there's a fantastic range of different field types that you can use. In our example, we want to be using a choice. And basically, we've only got two options. It's going to be on or off. Either the adverts are either going to be visible or invisible. So it can either be a checkbox, which is literally just a tick box. Either the tick box is checked or not. But I prefer to use true false. That's because it gives us a much nicer user interface, which can seem a little bit nicer if you have like content editors that come in and add content to your sites. So if we click true false, the field label we want, we're going to label it hide display ads. Once we click out of this box, field name will get automatically populated, and that's fine. That's exactly how we're happy with it being called. If you come up here, it's been pre-populated. Everything's exactly how we want it to be. If you click the hide display ads button, it toggles the accordion. And next thing we want to do is scroll down to the settings panel and the location rules, which basically tells WordPress, all right, well, we've created this field, but where do we want to show it? And we want to show it on when a post type is equal to post, or we'll add another rule group, post type is equal to page. Now, there's many different options you can choose here, whether it's a post or a page, or like if you wanted to add a configuration item for a specific page only, you could add page, and for all of the pages you got available, you can select that. We don't want that. I'll just use that as an example, showing you what it can do. So for all posts and pages, we're now going to have this field available to check. The only other thing that we do want to do is the presentation. We want it to be a stylized UI. We want it to look like this switch here. So we'll just make sure that we click that. We don't need to change the on text or the off text. We're happy with yes, no. And we will save those changes. So that means that whenever we go into a post, we go into here, we now have this meta box that has a hide display ads, yes or no. The functionality at the moment won't do anything, like we can save those changes, but it will fundamentally not be doing anything on the back end right now. That's when we need to put in our custom code, which is just coming up now. So now we have our new hide display ads ACF configurable field. It's still not fundamentally doing anything on the back end. We're still not handling that when we change that to hide display ads, yes, the ads should be hidden. So let's fix that now. We need to go to code snippets, and we need to go into our Google Adsense snippet that we created earlier. And the first step we need to do is change our code type from HTML snippet to PHP snippet. I'm going to give myself 2 new lines, and in my clipboard I've got a code snippet that I'm going to paste in, and I'll walk you through everything that we're doing, but we need to copy or cut what script that we had there originally, and we want to paste it inside these two single quotes. And what ends up happening here is that we're checking that an ACF function exists, and then that the value that we created earlier for the hide display ads, the value for it doesn't equal false. If it doesn't equal false, then the Google Ads script or AdSense script will be displayed online. The next thing we want to do is just scroll down, because sometimes when you change this code type, it ends up changing some of your insertion-based rules. So if you'll remember, this wasn't previously on run everywhere. We only want it to run on site-wide header. And we'll scroll down, make sure enable logic's currently disabled, which it is. And we will now save those changes. What we then want to do is go to the front end of our site, just to make sure that everything's working. We'll view the source code, and we can see here that the page add to Google syndication script is currently still being displayed as we expect it to. We expect it to be displayed on every page currently. And if we come in to edit this page, what we can do is change that to hide display ads yes, click update, save the changes. When we refresh the view source code now, this script should disappear, which it does. We can re-put them back on, save changes, refresh the source code, and it appears. So we now have confirmed that that's working. We'll save that for no for now. Make sure that the ads are still displaying, because what we do want to do is we want to come back into our code snippet, and remember we disabled the enable logic, and we just want to make sure that our condition is hide, logged in user is true, because we still want that to be the case. Even though we've got this ACF configurable field in place, for any logged in user, I never want to see adverts. I don't want to accidentally click on any of the ads on the front end as I'm navigating through my site. So we'll save those changes, and we'll go to the front end. Because we're logged in, we shouldn't see that script come up. Cool, so that's gone. So for us as editors, no matter what we do here, we will never see the ads. So you just need to be aware of that. Whenever you're making changes to here, you're always going to need to check it in incognito. So if we were to look at this page in incognito, let's reduce the size of that window. If we view the source of that page, and we look for page ads, or page ad, we should still see it. But if we hide it, we now no longer see it in incognito. So we've confirmed that both pieces of work are now working.